LeetCode problem number 56, merge intervals. So this problem gives us an array of intervals, where intervals has a start and end, and our goal is to merge all the overlapping intervals and return an array of the non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. So basically what it wants us to do here is, based on the intervals array given to us, we have to find overlapping intervals such as this 1, 3, 2, 6. So this 2 can be fit inside this interval. So technically this whole thing can be a single interval, right? So that's why it turned into 1, 6 here. Okay, so with that in mind, let me show you how I solve this problem. Okay, so first things first, I have the size recorded. The size in this case would be 4. And this is just an edge case test. So if, let's say, I have only one interval in my intervals array, I'll just return the intervals because there is no merging needed. Afterwards, I sort the intervals based on the starting number, right? So in this case, since it has already been sorted, nothing will change about that. Here I construct the result to the array, to the vector. And here I'm also keeping track of the current interval, which is going to be our first one, 1, 3. Here I have a for loop starting from the second interval, iterating through the end of the list. Right, so technically this can be used twice, right, because they are the same thing. I increment for each iteration, and here is my if else statement. So first I'm checking if the end of the current interval I'm using, which is 3, is smaller than the start of the current interval, right, which is 2. Now since 3 is bigger than 2, so this if statement will not be true and it will not trigger here. So here there's an else statement that updates the proper end of the current interval, which in this case would be the maximum of 3, or in this case 6. Now, since 6 is the bigger value here, so this will be updated to 6. Like so. I will increment, so I now is at 2 at 810. So we check again. So if the end of the current interval we're at, which is 6, is smaller than the intervals we are looking at, the start interval we're looking at, which is 8, which in this case it is, so we push back the current interval into our result, 1, 6, and we have the current updated to our current intervals, which is 8 and 10. So you can see how it goes here. Now it will check again using 8, 10 as our current interval. I will increment to 15, 18, and the same thing here, since 15 is bigger than 10, right? This if statement will not trigger because the current end 10 is not smaller than the starting of our current interval, which is 15. So again, we push back this result, we push back this current into our result and update the current with this interval. Now since when I increment once more, I will be 4, right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I is no longer lesser than size, so this for loop will end, and then it will push back the last remaining current, 15, 18, into our result. After that, it will return the result, which is 1, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18, and if you look at the examples given, it is exactly the same. Right? So let's go through how it will merge one more time using another example. So this time I'm using the next example 1445. So the current is 1 and 4, I is 1, right? So we skip past through everything here, and we straight jump into this single for loop over here. Now, since current I is, which is 4, since 4 is not less than the start, right? They are the same. So what does this mean? This means that this interval, our current interval, is actually overlapping the interval we're looking at now. So what we have to do is update the current intervals n, which is the second number, to reflect the updated n value, right, of this interval that we're looking at, which is 5, right? This max will be 5. Now let's say if we have another one, let's say for example this would to be 5 and 5, 8, I guess, and then we have 6, 10. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay, so 5, 8, we know how that goes. This will turn into 8, right? Same thing happened here, so will happen here as well. So I now increments to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 at the last interval, and if you see here, it is still sorted in ascending order, right? That's what we did. So since I is now at 610, so is the current n 8 lesser than the interval's start, which is 0, right? Is 8 lesser than 6? No, right? So that means, again, 6 belongs inside of this interval, right? 5, 6, and then 8. 5, 6 to 8. 5 to 8 includes 6. So again, we have to update the max, the n, to reflect that. So it will become 10. Now once that is done, I will increment once more. I is now reached 4. Since 4, we have reached the end of the interval list. We push back the result. We push back into our result, 110. And you can see this is actually the answer given to us, right? If you look at this, you will know that the intervals start at 1, overlaps here, right? 1 overlaps here, overlaps here. This 6 overlaps as well, because 6 can technically fit inside of 5, 8. And so we will have this one entire intervals merged into 1. Okay, so that's how I solve this problem. That's all I have to share. Thanks.